Tengan cuidado con la migra, my aunt would warn me, telling me to keep an eye out for immigration agents. You see, growing up in the 1980s, mass raids by US immigration and custom agents were all too common. They'd show up unannounced, sometimes in the middle of the night, at home, work, your local supermarket. To this day, local police departments across America collaborate with federal agents to identify, detain, and deport undocumented immigrants under the guise of sobriety checkpoints. Many moons ago, I won't tell you how many, before I became the proud gay Latino man that I am today, and as a child, my family lived in fear of being forcibly separated and deported to a country we didn't know. We hid from police officers, immigration agents, and quite frankly, anyone with a uniform. I didn't understand why. Why, even though I was born in the US, my family of mixed immigrant status wasn't granted the same rights and protections under the law. And apparently, California's then racist and bigoted governor, Pete Wilson, didn't understand that either. But his solution was to work relentlessly to prevent immigrants from accessing healthcare, education, and human services. Like Donald Trump, he too threatened to deport all Mexicans. Unfortunately, the terror that kept Latino families awake at night all those years ago is no longer from a dreadful past. Today, a very real and scarier threat to Latinos is a Trump presidency. I grew up in Los Angeles, California, where my dentist was Persian, my math teacher was Armenian, my barber was Salvadoreño, my bank teller was Korean, my nurse Filipina, and my congresswoman a Chicana. But my experience is not universal. In so many places, people of color experience erasure, from higher education to technology, politics, and yes, dare I say, even in the progressive movement, we, as people of color, yearn to see courageous leaders at the helm who look just like us. Not just because representation is critical, and not just because our voices are valid, but because history and the incoming administration's record have proven to us that those in the highest position of power will not fight for access and equity for all of us. They may even fight against it time and time and time again as LGBTQ people. And as people of color, we've experienced oppression at the hands of those who are responsible for protecting us, for protecting our civil rights. Many have compared last November's election results to the election of George Bush in 2000, or for my fellow Californians, the repeal of marriage equality through a ballot measure in 2008. But nothing compares to the feeling many of us felt after receiving the election results this November. For the first time in our nation's history, millions casted their vote for an openly racist, bigoted, misogynistic, and anti-LGBTQ candidate who bragged about sexual assault, incited violence, and ran under the campaign promise of criminalizing Muslims and immigrants. But his deplorable qualities apparently were not enough to deter people from voting for him. What's worse is that his party holds a strong majority in Congress, and their unregulated and unchecked power could have devastating consequences that will last for generations. Friends, colleagues, fellow activists, I can't sugarcoat this. I'm outraged. The president is a threat to the liberty and the prosperity of LGBTQ people all across America. That is why we need and we must take action. We must continue standing up to bullies, whether they oppress us behind a badge, from the pulpit, in the workplace, or even from the White House. We cannot defeat the tyranny of bigotry and hate if we don't join together and stand in solidarity and fight against the threats to everyone's inalienable rights. Despite growing up in a diverse metropolis like Southern California, there was very little I could do, my family could do, to avoid the omniscient terror of la migra, or the US Customs and Immigration agents. The nightmare of massive raids, inhumane detention, and forced deportation is a daily lived reality of millions of immigrants. Today, 2017, not 1980-something. What calls me to this work is the hope that at least one child will not experience the hate, the violence, the racism, the homophobia, and the terror that I have. Our dream for a better world is not a fleeting memory, but a living benchmark within the grasp of our most challenging sprint. We have not considered all possible solutions when we haven't exhausted our imagination.